Let's treat this like an actual campaign strategist would. Forget the headlines for a second and look at the mechanics. Which voter coalitions hold? Which ones crack and why? Because when you break down a Vance versus AOC matchup state by state, you're not just looking at a lopsided prediction, you're looking at a textbook case of coalition mismatch, and the tactical details explain exactly why the map ends up this lopsided. Here's the setup. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has become the front-runner for the 2028 Democratic nomination, with prediction markets now giving her a 68% chance of actually entering the race, a number that spiked after she announced she's freezing her eggs, which a lot of observers are reading as campaign preparation. On the Republican side, J.D. Vance is the clear frontrunner. I built out a full 50-state map for that matchup, and the strategic pattern underneath it is worth breaking down layer by layer. Layer 1 is the base, the states that are locked in for both sides no matter what, margins of 15 points or more. Vance banks Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, both Dakotas, most of Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, South Carolina, and Alaska. Standard GOP floor. By the way, please leave your questions or comments in the comments section. I will answer each one individually as time permits. Also, I would be very happy if you liked the video and subscribed to my channel. Now, let's continue. The tactically interesting part is what gets added to that floor specifically because of who the opponent is. Ohio is the clearest example. This was a genuine swing state as recently as 2012 when Obama won it by 3 points. Trump's 2016 flip turned into a nearly double-digit win. Biden lost it by almost the same margin in 2020, and by 2024, Trump's margin had grown to 11. Against the uniquely unpopular opponent like AOC, and on his own home turf, Vance clears 15 easily. Iowa runs the identical playbook, an Obama state in 2012 that snapped hard right and stayed there, reinforced further here by Vance's own Midwestern regional appeal. And Texas, a state that's been drifting away from automatic since Romney's 2012 win, gets pulled back into the safe column by the sheer scale of the opponent mismatch. That's 88 electoral votes before we've touched a single competitive race, purely from base consolidation plus opponent-specific upside. AOC's base, by comparison, is structurally weak. Washington, California, Hawaii, Vermont, Massachusetts, Maryland, D.C., and Maine's 1st District gets her to 98. That's not a floor, that's a ceiling problem disguised as a floor. Any Democratic nominee should be starting well north of 100 locked-in votes. The fact that she doesn't tells you everything about her coalition's actual reach before you even open the swing state playbook. Now for layer 2, the 5 to 15-point states where the tactics really start to differentiate the two campaigns. On Vance's side, Florida is the headline. It's technically drifted out of true swing state status already, and even accounting for AOC's potential strength with Hispanic voters. A real demographic consideration worth flagging tactically. The state stays comfortably Republican. North Carolina is the more interesting strategic case. It's the only one of the 7 2024 battlegrounds Trump carried all 3 times he ran, 3 points in 2016, 1 in 2020, 3 again in 2024, a state that's consistently underperformed its swing label for a decade. Vance is projected to push that margin past 5, converting a marginal battleground into a stable, likely red state. Maine's 2nd district follows him too. And then Arizona presents the most tactically significant flip on the board. A state Biden won in 2020 by becoming the first Democrat to carry it since 1996. Now fully back in Republican hands after Trump's 5.5-point 2024 win. Was Vance projected to hold that margin? That's a state that went from Democratic breakthrough to stable Republican column in 2 cycles. And it's the kind of trend line any strategist should be watching closely. Combined, solid plus likely puts Vance at 246, 24 votes from the finish line. On AOC's side, the likely states expose the coalition's soft spots with real precision. Oregon and Colorado hold, but the more instructive cases are Illinois and New York. Illinois delivered 17-point Democratic wins in 2012, 2016, and 2020, then dropped to just 11 under Harris in 2024, a 6-point erosion in a single cycle that mirrors the broader Midwestern trend. New York is even more dramatic tactically. Biden's 23-point win in 2020 got cut in half to 12 under Harris, and Republicans came within 7 points of the governorship there in 2022. When a nominee's own home state is only rated likely instead of safe, that's not a rounding error, that's a structural warning sign about coalition depth. Maine, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Delaware round things out, and the running total lands at Vance 246, AOC 179. Layer 3 is where campaign strategy actually decides the outcome. The 10 true battlegrounds, split first into lean states, 1 to 5 point margins. AOC's tactical strength shows up in New Mexico, a state Democrats haven't lost since 2004, held here on the back of durable Hispanic voter loyalty, a coalition piece that's remained sticky even as other demographics shift. New Jersey is the more alarming case for Democratic strategists. Biden won it by 16 in 2020, Harris by only 6 in 2024, a 10-point swing in a single cycle that turned a genuinely safe state into a real battleground. AOC holds it, barely, but barely, is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Even with both wins, she's stuck at 19-8, still short of 200 electoral votes, with the two biggest structural problems, the blue wall and the tilt states, still to come. On the Republican lean side, Nevada and Georgia both reflect a decade of deliberate coalition building. Nevada flipped in 2024 for the first time since George W. Bush in 2004. Republicans also grabbed the governorship in 2022, and Vance is projected to extend that momentum to a 4-point win. Georgia flipped for Democrats briefly in 2020, the first Democratic win there since 1992, before Trump reclaimed it by 2 points in 2024. Vance is projected to build that out to 3 to 5, a continuation of a trend rather than a new development. Then there's the tactical centerpiece of the entire map, the blue wall, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, which voted together in lockstep from 1992 straight through 2012 before Trump's razor-thin 2016 sweep, margins under a point in all 3 states, broke a run that had held since Reagan's 1984 sweep. Biden's 2020 recovery was just as narrow, and Trump swept all 3 again in 2024. Structurally, this region has flipped from Democratic anchor to genuine swing territory to reliable Republican column in the span of 3 election cycles. Against AOC, the model has Vance sweeping all 3 again, and that alone puts him past 270. 3 states remain to fully close out the board: Minnesota, New Hampshire, and Virginia, plus Nebraska's 2nd district, which AOC holds on to, narrowly given it was drawn specifically to favor Democrats. Minnesota is the highest value target on the entire map from a pure trend analysis standpoint. No Republican has carried it since Nixon in 1972, but Trump came within a 1.5 points in 2016, and Vance's Midwestern regional profile against a candidate with zero connection to the area is projected to finally convert that near miss into an actual flip. New Hampshire, the 2nd closest state of the entire 2016 cycle, follows the same logic and flips too. Virginia is the 3rd and final conversion, a state Democrats hadn't lost since 2004 until Glenn Youngkin's 2021 governor's race win cracked the door open, and the coalition gap between Vance and AOC is projected to be wide enough to finish the job. Final tally: Vance 339 electoral votes, AOC 199, the worst Democratic performance since Dukakis in 1988. Strategically, none of this comes from a single dramatic swing. It's the accumulation of small, explainable coalition failures across every region of the map. Base erosion in New York and Illinois, a Hispanic voter mismatch inconsistent enough to only barely save New Mexico, a blue wall that structurally shifted rightward over 3 cycles, and a total absence of Midwestern or rural appeal in the tilt states. Any one of those factors alone would be manageable for a national campaign. Stacked together against a single opponent, they produce exactly the kind of landslide this map is showing.